Nike is one of the largest and most popular sportswear companies in the world, and it all began with one man's vision of creating better shoes. In just over half a century, this idea grew into a global corporation valued at over $100 billion. In this video, we're going to explore the early days of Nike to understand the factors that led to its success and how it became the powerhouse that it is today. One day, Phil Knight woke up feeling lost and unsure of what to do with his life. He realized he needed a purpose. So, he went to the University of Oregon where he studied journalism and discovered his passion for running. It was there that he met Bill Bowerman, a legendary track coach who had trained Olympic athletes. Phil became a middle-distance runner under Bowerman's tutelage, and they became good friends. Little did they know that their friendship would lead to the creation of the world's largest sports company. Phil Knight was still confused about his future after finishing college in 1959. He had always dreamed of being an athlete, but he realized he didn't have what it took. Phil joined the Army for a year, hoping to find direction, but that didn't work either. Feeling frustrated and angry, he enrolled in the Graduate School of Business at Stanford University after his military service. It was at Stanford that Phil finally found his passion. During an assignment to create a new business, he came up with an idea that would completely transform his life. What is this idea, you may ask? Phil had noticed that Japanese cameras had replaced the once dominant German cameras in the American market. So, he got to thinking, could Japanese shoes do the same to the hugely popular Puma and Adidas? They were all the rage at the time, but Phil had a hunch that he could shake things up. And boy, was he right. After finishing his studies, Phil Knight really wanted to bring in Japanese shoes to America. Although he had never owned any of these shoes, he had seen a few pairs that were brought over by American soldiers who had been in Japan during the Second World War. Despite this lack of experience, Phil believed that he had a great idea and saw it as an opportunity. He realized that in order to succeed, he would have to find a Japanese company to work with and import their shoes to America, even though he had no experience in doing so. But, being the man who would later create Nike, he didn't let that stop him and he went ahead and just did it. In November 1962, Phil Knight jetted off to Japan with a mission to find some top-notch running shoes to import to the USA. He wasn't exactly sure where to start, but he wandered around like a curious tourist until he stumbled upon a shoe store in the stunning city of Kobe that really caught his attention. The store was owned by a company called Onitsuka Tiger, and their shoes were seriously high quality for the time. Phil was so impressed that he was determined to bring them back home. So, he decided to introduce himself as an American shoe distributor and set up a meeting with the company's founder. In true entrepreneurial fashion, Phil made up a fake company name on the spot and pitched himself as Onitsuka's distributor in America. To his surprise, the owner agreed to work with him, and Phil's dream of bringing Japanese shoes to the USA was suddenly becoming a reality. Phil Knight, the man who had the guts to pitch his way into a partnership with Onitsuka Tiger, now had 12 pairs of shoes, which he hawked out of the trunk of his car at track meets. While he was making sales, it was clear that his strategy wasn't going to take him to the big time, so he needed a new plan. He turned to his former college coach, Bill Bowerman, who also happened to be a shoe enthusiast. From there, the two worked together to create better, lighter, and more comfortable shoes for athletes. Back in the day, Bill was one of the most famous coaches in America, with a track record of training multiple Olympic athletes. He too loved the Tiger shoes, and after being shown the light by Phil, he wanted in on the action. Soon after, Phil and Bill incorporated Blue Ribbon Sports in January 1964. They both invested $500 to get things off the ground. With that humble investment, they made their first order of 300 pairs of shoes, which cost them $3.33 each. The shoes arrived in April 1964, and thanks to Bill's connections, they were all sold out by July. Their first year in business brought in $8,000 in shoe sales, which was a pretty impressive feat. With this cash flow, Phil went ahead and hired some top-notch salesmen to help the company grow even bigger. Things weren't always easy for them though. Their shipments from Japan often arrived late, and they had many problems getting enough money to run their business. Even though their sales kept doubling, banks were hesitant to lend them the money they needed, and 2 banks even stopped working with Philosophy. But despite the struggles, they didn't stop the grind. By 1965, Blue Ribbon Sports revenue had grown to $20,000, and they opened their own store in Santa Monica. However, while Phil was managing the business side of things, it was Bill who was the real innovator. He was the one who introduced jogging to America all by himself. In 1966, Bill published a book about jogging that was a massive hit, selling over 1 million copies. His company was one of the first to advertise Tiger shoes as the ideal footwear for jogging. Bill was known for his creativity, and whenever he received a new shipment from Onitsuka, he would grab his scissors and cut open a few shoes to examine their construction. Then, he would brainstorm ways to improve them, such as adding more cushioning or using lighter materials. In essence, he was designing Onitsuka's shoes for them. However, it was one of Bill's shoe designs that turned Blue Ribbon Sports into a household name, the Cortez. This sneaker was a sensation in 1968, thanks in no small part to the 1968 Olympics held in Mexico. The sensational success of the Cortez in 1968 was so huge that Blue Ribbon Sports managed to sell a staggering $300,000 worth of shoes in 1969. However, there was one major issue. The Cortez was in such high demand that they couldn't keep up with it. Every time they received a new shipment, it would sell out even faster than the previous one. Onitsuka was prioritizing local demand in Japan and then sending the remaining supply to America at a slow pace. Phil and Bill knew they needed to expand beyond being a mere distributor if they wanted to grow. They soon realized that they held the key to their future success. Bowerman was the mastermind behind the design of the Cortez. Therefore, as soon as their contract with Onitsuka was over, they could start manufacturing it on their own. Fortunately, their contract was set to end in 1972, which would give Phil plenty of time to prepare for the impending move, just before the Olympics in Munich. In 1971, Phil Knight started working on building the brand for his company. He had a genius idea to call it Nike, after the Greek goddess of victory, which was suggested by his first employee. However, he needed a logo to represent his new brand, so he went to a nearby university and found a graphic design student who created the iconic Nike swoosh logo for a mere $35. Looking back, it was definitely money well spent. With the branding complete, Phil was ready to take on the world. Instead of locking himself into exclusive agreements, he set up a network of subcontractors across Japan to produce his products, giving him more control over production. Now, Phil could finally spread his wings and take Nike to new heights. Nike's story is one of success and expansion. It became the biggest sports clothing company in America in 1989. They did this by using excellent marketing strategies, such as the famous Just Do It campaign, and by signing up promising new athletes who later became famous all over the world. Despite challenges through the years, Nike continued to grow and expand. Today, it is one of the largest and most recognizable brands in the world, with a presence in nearly every country on the planet. Its success is a testament to the power of innovative marketing, commitment to design and innovation, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Thanks for watching this video on the rise of Nike and how one man built a billion-dollar brand. It's incredible to see how a small startup grew into a global powerhouse, and the lessons we can learn from Nike's success are valuable for anyone interested in entrepreneurship, marketing, and innovation. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And if you have any comments or questions about Nike, please leave them in the comments section below. We always love to hear from our viewers. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.